Chapter 2, Hell is Cold. Contrary to popular belief, hell is actually located in Antarctica. These are the facts, people. The quote at the beginning. Between two worlds, life hovers like a star, twixt night and morn upon the horizon's verge. How little do we know that which we are, how less what we may be. Lord Byron, Don Juan. So there's that. Also, Tessa has been tied to a bed as punishment for trying to run away. So now she's all pissy and she's like, why me? Why do I have to marry this guy? And Mrs. Dark's like, because of your talent. She asks about her brother, and they're kind of holding him as ransom to her to make her do what they want. And they're like, if you marry the Magister, he'll give you whatever you want, and if you want your brother to be free, he'll set him free. Come on, it's a once-in-a-lifetime offer here. And if you don't do it, we're gonna whip you until your skin peels off. It's never good. You want your skin to stay on. So now she's laying in her bed and thinking about her Aunt Harriet, who she lived with in America, and how she's dead now, along with her parents, so she's an orphan. She's like, oh, this talent is so stupid, it could change my appearance. Why can't I have the talent to, like, light stuff on fire? Because apparently she's a pyromaniac. Why can't I have, like, the power to set stuff on fire, shadow metal, cause knives to grow out of my fingers? Okay, I can dig it. Make herself invisible, or shrink herself to the size of a mouse. I'm assuming she just wants to escape. And then she suddenly realized something. She doesn't have to be as small as mouse, she just has to be small enough to slip out of these ties on her wrists and ankles. And it was possible for her to change into someone a second time without touching something that had belonged to them, as long as she'd done it before. So, she thought very hard, and she's like, oh, I can do this, I can do this. I think I can. So she changes into this little girl from before, who was killed and was very, frail. And she slips her wrists out and unties her ankles. And she changed herself back after she was free. And all of a sudden, a noise behind her. And the knob on the bedroom door was turning. And she's like, crap! Mrs. Dark, she's coming. She's going to whip me until my skin peels off. And that's not good, because I need that stuff. And so, she grabbed a porcelain jug and scuttled to the side of the door. She's like, okay, I'm just going to walk in. I'm going to smack her in the head. And then I'm going to run for my freaking life. The doorknob turned, the door flew open, and she couldn't really see very well. All she could see was that someone walked in. So she lunged forward and swung the jug with all her strength, and the figure moved. Like, they tried to dodge, but they weren't quite quick enough, so the jug did hit them. And then she's like, oh, hey, that was a guy's voice who just yelled. Oops. Maybe? Was that the Magister? Was it someone else? Who did I just hit in the head? At first, she's like, I'm out of here. So she, like, runs for the door, and it slams shut, and she's, fine! Be that way, you friggin' door! And then all of a sudden, a bright light blazed in the room, and she spun around, and there was a boy standing there. Not much older than she was. 17, possibly 18. Wearing lots of weapons. And holding this rock that was, like, glowing. That's where the light was coming from, obviously. And then all of a sudden, he realized she was staring at him. And stopped the cursing that he'd been doing since she hit him in the head. It's like, you coming? It might be fatal. He's very British, pleasant, and very ordinary. It's just on his hand. It's not actually going to be fatal. He's just dumb. And she looks at him, she's like, are you the Magister? And he tilted his hand over and, like, blood ran down and splat on the floor. He's like, dear me, Master Bloodlust, death could be in it. And she's like, are you the Magister? That means master in Latin, doesn't it? And he's, like, all surprised, like, I get an attitude, girl. So they're, like, talking and trying to figure stuff out, and she's just, like, staring at him because he's, like, rambling on, and she's just like, who are you? And he's like, well, I've mastered many things. I'm awesome. Delighting young women with my charms. And so she's like, are you highly intoxicated at the moment? She meant the question, like, sincerely, but realized as soon as she said it, that was really rude. That was, I should not have said that. That was really, really rude. Oh God, what if he thinks I'm flirting with him? Oh my God. And then she's like, oh, he's too steady on his feet to be drunk anyway. He's not drunk. He's not drunk. And he goes, well, you Americans sure are direct, aren't you? He's like, what's your name? And she's just like, what's my name? He's like, wait, don't know your own name? You come bursting my room, scared me nearly to death, and now you demand to know my name? What on earth's your name? And who are you anyway? He's like, my name's Herondale. Oh, Will Herondale. Hey, how you doing, Shadow Hunter? Nice of you to come back into the story. And he looks over the bed, he's like, do you often sleep tied to a bed? Only on weekends. She doesn't say that. That was my commentary. I'm funny. Trust me. It's like, here, hold this. And she hands her the rock, and it turns out as soon as, like, the light goes off, right as soon as that happens. Goes over the window, opens the window, he's like, pity, we're on the third floor. I could manage to jump, but it'll probably kill you. So she introduces herself, and he draws runes or something on the door to make the door open. They're running down the stairs and stuff, and all of a sudden a scream. Unmistakably Mrs. Dark's scream. And they're like, oh hey, they know you're missing. We should run now. And they're like, what do the Dark Sisters have planned for tonight? And she's like, I don't know. And he goes, what are you expecting? But you were expecting someone called the Magister. And they're running down the stairs, and it was really, really hot, and they were in the cellar, and he goes, by the angel, it's like the ninth circle of hell down here. And she goes, the ninth circle of hell is cold. And he just like stares at her, what? In the inferno, hell is cold, it's covered in ice. And he's just like, give me the witch light. The stone, give me the stone. Which apparently is called a witch light because that's what light comes out of and whatnot. And they keep going, and he looks at her, he's like, as for the temperature of hell, Miss Gray, let me give you a piece of advice. The handsome young fellow who's trying to rescue you from a hideous fate is never wrong. Not even if he says the sky is purple and made of hedgehogs. Because the sky is purple and made of hedgehogs. Obviously. And she's just like, looks at him, she's like, it really is crazy, oh my God. And then they start down the way that goes to the double doors of the Dark Sisters chambers, where she goes to for her classes and stuff. She's like, no, it's a dead end, and he's like, correcting me again. I see. What did I tell you about that? And she's like, all right, and she follows him, and then she's like, hey, did my brother send you to find me? He's like, never heard of your brother. Never heard of you either. I've been following the trail of a dead girl for nearly 2 months. She was murdered, left in an alley to bleed to death. She'd been running from something. There's a dagger beside her, covered in blood, and had a symbol on it. 2 snakes swallowing each other's tails. Connection! More banter! All of a sudden they're talking about the dagger, and all of a sudden they hear, Miss Gray! Oh, Miss Gray! Where are you? And Mrs. Dark, she's friggin' creepy. And so they run into a slaughterhouse with long wooden tables running the length of the room. Bodies lay on them. Human bodies, stripped and pale. Each had a black incision in the shape of a Y marking its chest, and each head dangled back over the edge of the table, the hair of the women sweeping the floor like brooms. On the center table were piles of blood-stained knives and machinery, copper cogs and brass gears and sharp-toothed silver hack saws. This, I think, is supporting my Gollum theory for Miranda. That they kill people, obviously, and then take their bodies back here, and, the wide-shaped incision, and they clear all the guts out and stuff, and drain the blood, and then put cogs and gears in there, and make them into, robots, and they're Clockwork, and I am so right, I know it, okay, moving on, So Mrs. Dark finds them. Now they're bantering back and forth. Lots and lots of banter. And then the wall explodes and two men run in. Tessa fell backwards. Mrs. Dark is howling imprecations. And holding off her attacker, the burning sparks of energy that flew from her hands like fiery rain. I'm guessing she's a witch or a warlock or something along those lines. And then Tessa moved towards the open door, and strong hands grabbed her and yanked her backwards. She shrieked and twisted and bit somebody's hand, and someone yelled and let go of her. She looked and she saw a tall man with a shock of untidy ginger hair and cradling his bleeding left hand. And he's like, Will, she bit me. And Will goes, did she, Henry? So this redhead's name is Henry. It's bad form to bite, he said. Rude, you know. Hasn't anyone ever told you that? It's also rude to go about grabbing at ladies you haven't been introduced to. Hasn't anyone told you that? Miss Sassy Pants. He gave a smile, and then they're fighting more. And then Will pulls out a blue blade and stabs Mrs. Dark with it right through the chest. And she died. Crap. Wait, maybe she didn't die. Mrs. Dark, her eyes were flaming like black torches, hissing words in a language that Tessa had never heard, and flung bolts of lightning at Tessa, which is weird, because now they're trying to kill her. Before, they were trying to keep her alive so she could marry the Magister, but now they're trying to kill her. Will, tells Henry to get her out of there to a place of safety. She's like, well, why is she trying to kill me? Why not Will? While she's, standing there not knowing what to do, one of the blazing shards caught her shoulder with incredible force, and she says it was like being struck by a hurtling train. She was knocked back, her head struck the wall, and she was only conscious, briefly, for Mrs. Dark's high, screeching laughter before the world went away. And that's the end of Chapter 2. Next time, Chapter 3, The Institute. I spent a lot of time talking about Chapter 2, so I'm not going to recap it too much. There was Henry, the redhead. He seems fun. I like him. He seems very kind-hearted, at the same time pretty BA because he can beat up all these people. I also noticed that he used blue fire, which is often known as Satan's fire. I'm glad we're out of the dark house because that place was creepy, and I'm excited to see where the story goes next. I will see you next time on Let's Read Clockwork Angels by Cassandra Clare. Make sure to leave a comment, subscribe. We have other stuff, it's not just books. Not everything is as boring as me, I promise. It would also help if I was awake enough to actually pay attention to what I'm reading, so I didn't have to read everything 3 times. Oh my god, I need some sleep. See you next time!